Hi folks, how are you doing? My name is Marc Gallagher and I'm a ukulele player based in the UK. However, for as long as I've been playing ukulele, I've also been playing bass guitar. I learned both of those instruments in the same year of 2011, so 13 years ago at time of recording. And I still have an affinity for the other larger four-stringed instrument, even though ukulele is very much my main thing. However, I've got a student whom I teach bass. He is called John and he's been learning on a Ashbury style U bass kind of thing, a replica of the Carly U basses with the polyurethane strings. And it's weird for me because I don't have a short scale bass. I only have two bass guitars. I've got a Fender Precision bass and a Fender Jazz bass, and it's weird for me teaching him how to play when I'm carrying such a larger instrument and being like, yes, the notes are the same, just bear with. So I was speaking to the kind folks at Flight, explaining my issue here and how I'd love to have a short scale bass for which to use to teach him. And we kindly struck up a deal in which I got sent this. Flight have sent me their mini JB bass. So this is a shorter scale replica of a jazz bass. I'm going to use the term because I'm not a shop, so Fender aren't going to sue me if I say that this is what it is, which is a miniature form of a jazz bass. This is a solid body, so this is not acoustic, and it's got steel strings, which is absolutely my favorite go-to thing, because one of the things I hate about like short scale basses like the Carly U bass is the polyurethane strings that feel like gummy worms. I've never enjoyed playing those, so to have something with steel strings is really nice. I also have an affinity for this mini jazz bass because it is the literal baby version of my Sunburst Fender jazz bass, and look at it! It's father and son. It's amazing! So looking into what this bass is, this follows the typical jazz bass design in which there are two pickups, a neck pickup and a bridge pickup. This one has a maple neck. It's got the steel strings that I've mentioned already. It's got these open gear tuners, which they turn very, very much with very little force, very little movement. So it can be a bit of an interesting thing to try and tune. And then it's got the jazz bass style bridge, 4 individual saddles coming through here. It's all pretty nice. It also comes with this branded gig bag. It's not the thickest padded in the world, but then again, beggars can't be choosers. There aren't going to be other cases for basses this size. So it's fine for now, and for what I need to do at the very least, which is just to take this along to go and teach my student, it works very well for the purpose. It also comes with a jack lead, which is a bit thin, and I question its durability. Like, I'm glad they've given me one. However, if I was to do a gig, I would probably take this and then a spare one just in case. I'm going to be giving some tones later on. I've put this bass through a DI box, so you're getting the direct signal. I'm also taking it through my Fender Rumble 200. I've got both an amp output that's being recorded, such as an XLR out from the amp, and also I've mic'd the amp up as well with my Ear Trumpet Labs Edwina. I will flash up on screen what sort of sounds we are getting as and when we're doing it, especially as we sort of demonstrate the element between these two pickups. Okay, so taking a look at some of the tonal examples, I'm just using the DI for this, and as a result, I've got my headphones on. However, my jazz bass is, despite being very, very similar in both sort of the finish especially, my Fender jazz bass has a slightly different tone circuit to how this one works. So the traditional jazz bass tone circuit has your 2 pickups, and then you've got your volume for one, volume for another pickup, and then your master tone. Mine is different, however, because it has one master volume knob, and then it's got a blend knob in which you can sort of dial in between the respective pickups. So that's a little key difference that we have in what I have been used to on jazz basses versus what you have on here. So firstly, we've got just our neck pickup going on at the moment, and this can be a little bit smoother, a little bit more bassy. Then just on its own, we'll look at the bridge pickup, which is a little bit pokier, a little bit more trebly, and that can suit itself to some slightly more old school soul and Motown styles of bass playing. One of the really cool things about having sort of these steel strings is that we can do slap bass elements. So always love to be able to do that on something like a short scale bass like this. When you put both of the volume knobs in, so it's not a case of like doubling up your volume, it's still giving you the sound of both the pickups but at the same relative like level. A thing to bear in mind is that the volume knobs for these can be a little bit all or nothing. I'll demonstrate this example. So I've got just my bridge pickup going. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly dial in the neck pickup, and hopefully you should kind of hear what I mean. So I'm just going to play this. The point I was trying to demonstrate there is that I'm not really getting any sort of neck pickup tone as I am bringing this volume knob up, only until I get to sort of a like 8 or 9 kind of thing, and then you get this sort of massive vroom where it takes over completely. And that's something I find quite surprising when dialing in tones like this. Initially, I was worried that this was sort of an issue with like this specific bass. However, yesterday at the time of recording, I went to a music shop. I tried some like regular Fender jazz basses, and the circuits seemed to work in the same kind of way. It was just different to how I've been used to learning on a jazz bass with the slightly different sort of control setup. The tone knob is relatively simple. It's sort of a high-end roller, so it just reduces some of the high-end. Typically, when I play, I like to just leave my tone knob just kind of dialed, so like fully up. I know Alex Beds of Southern Ukulele Store does the exact opposite and rolls it all the way down. It's not my personal preferred style. Let's run through the tone all the way up, and then I'll do some all the way down. All the way down. Which is a bit sort of muffled by design. And then if I was to go like halfway in between, that's pretty nice as well. However, despite the nice things that I have mentioned, this bass is not perfect, and I am grateful to Flight for having sent me this instrument. However, in the spirit of integrity, there are some things that I do think need addressing on this. So the first thing that I would pay attention to and pay mind to is maybe the strings are a little bit on the thin side. I believe that Alex Beds of Southern Ukulele Store, when he was doing his videos about the current short scale bass models that are in stock at Southern Ukulele Store, so not just the Flight solid bodies, but also the Fender Fullerton and the new Kala solid bodies, he mentioned that the Flight strings were a little bit loose tension wise, and like I am inclined to agree with him. I believe Alex has changed to slightly thicker strings that Kala supply. Flight at the moment don't supply like thicker bass strings for this, so I might have to go down that same sort of route, although I might not go down the flat wound route that Alex had picked out. What's the most glaring issue for me at the moment is the intonation. So intonation is how well in tune the ukulele, the bass, is up the neck. So when intonation is bad, you can tune to your notes absolutely fine, and then as soon as you fret something, it's out. And we have slight intonation issues on this bass. Thankfully, due to the nature of this bridge and the way the saddles are, you can adjust this to taste and to make the intonation more correct. And hopefully there will be a video on this. However, if you are buying from like a big box company like Gear for Music, like Flight themselves potentially, then you might not necessarily get the setup like straight away. If you were to, however, buy it from a specialist store like Southern Ukulele Store, like World of Ukes in Carlisle, then maybe you would get this sort of set up and sorted out for you. But yeah, I think it's a shame that the intonation stuff isn't sorted out of the gate. And honestly, for me, it gave me such a headache in terms of when I was playing and going through like what I know to be a C major scale and it just not sounding like one. It's sounding instead like a C sharp. And that messed with my head, especially as someone who has perfect pitch. It made me question, like, and it made me genuinely think I'd lost my mind for a brief period of time. And yeah, so I will be spending some time fixing the intonation on this. However, it's a shame that I have to do that in the first place, and that it couldn't have been set up like that on the way to me. But yes, as for the strings as well, they are taking an awful long time to settle. Maybe a part of it is also the temperature of this room. My studio is a little bit on the cold side as we head into winter. But before I was recording this video, I spent maybe 2 hours solidly just tuning this instrument, tuning it the 12th fret harmonic, tuning open strings, pulling at the strings to sort of detune them and then keep bringing them up. Mentioning the tuning machines as well, you are making the tiniest adjustments on here and it's tuning greatly in pitch, which is inconvenient. I feel like there is only like one wrap of the string around the tuning machine. I would prefer to see like 2 to 3 wraps, so I know that the string is a bit more held in solidly under its own tension. But yeah, the sound wise, it's still really nice. Again, I've got some samples coming up later, especially as we compare it to my Fender Jazz bass as well. This is something that really suits me as a teacher of uke bass, while not resulting in me having to use those terrible rubber strings that I'm not a fan of at all. I'm grateful to Flight for sending me this. Yeah, I'll be sorting out a couple bits in terms of the setup, maybe changing of the strings to something slightly thicker. I am pleased so far with what I have here. I'm grateful for Flight for sending me this. If you would like an instrument like this, I would recommend that you were to go through a specialist retailer like Southern Ukulele Store, just so that you've got your setup sorted out of the gate. But yeah, I'm going to defer now to some tone samples. So there you have it. That was an instrument profile of my Flight Mini JB bass. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully I've compelled you or inspired you or influenced you to get an instrument like this of your own. That would be wonderful. Let me know what you thought of the video, of the instrument, of basses in general, because I know they can be a divisive topic sometimes. Thank you very much for watching. You can follow me on your social media of choice at Marc Gallagher Music. If you are watching this on YouTube, subscribe and like. If you like the video and you're watching it on Facebook, then give it a like. You can keep up with me and support the things I do as well by going to Patreon, patreon.com/Marc Gallagher Music. Until next time, my name's Marc Gallagher. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you guys again soon.